Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee. Um, when I talk to the old timers, one thing that they always did was they observed certain traditions, no matter how bad times got. Come hell or high water, there were certain things that they did every year, no matter what the situations were. And one of those things was bacon for the holidays. And we had a lot of German immigrants in our area, so a lot of German recipes were common during the holidays. Stuff like Pfeffernis and Lebkuchen cookies and Stollenbread. This stuff was always baked. And another thing that was always baked around here was sugar cookies. And that's what I'm going to show you guys how to bake the recipe that I remember it. Sugar was one thing that was always available around here in this part of Michigan because this is a sugar producing area. And even during the Depression and World War II, people still could get sugar. So of course it was natural for them to utilize that resource that they had. And sugar cookies was one of those things during the holidays that everybody made, and everybody had their own variation of it. And I'm going to show you the recipe that I remember here with a couple little variations. I am using local sugar. This is our local sugar here that's produced in this area, just like they would have used. And to start out here, I got a half a pound of butter softened up, and I'm going to add 2 cups of white granulated sugar into that, and a good couple tablespoons of imitation vanilla. Now, I know a lot of people use real vanilla, but I can't remember any of the old timers ever using real vanilla. It was always imitation vanilla that the old folks used when they were making these sugar cookies. But they always put a lot of vanilla in. It was never just a teaspoon like most modern recipes show. It was more like a couple of tablespoons. So that's what I'm going to add in. Here's a couple tablespoons of imitation vanilla. And I'm going to take my mixer here and I'm going to mix this up. I'm going to show you what it looks like at that point, and then I'm going to show you how to add the other ingredients into it. Alright guys, I took a minute here and I combined the sugar and the butter and the vanilla. This is what it looks like at this point. One thing with these sugar cookies is the dough was always made the night before. They would make it the night before and they would chill it and then they would roll it out the next day to make their cutout cookies, because cutout cookies was the style that I remember. And I'm actually going to show you some of my old school cookie cutters that I have here tomorrow when I actually go and I roll these and I cut these out. But at this point, when your butter, sugar, and vanilla is combined, you want to add your eggs to it. Now this would be actually a really good thing to use your water glassed eggs for, if you have water glassed eggs from the spring. Water glassed eggs is a way of preserving eggs without any type of refrigeration, and it was quite common back in the day. But anyway, I'm going to mix the eggs into this, and then we're going to get into the flour and the sour cream, sour milk. Alright guys, I got the 2 eggs mixed into the butter and sugar here, and this is what the batter looks like at this point. Now this comes to the point of the leavening agent into this batter. And the old timers would use a combination of whole milk, cream, and they would put a good tablespoon of vinegar into that, and they would let that sour. And I'm actually going to use just regular sour cream because I have some regular sour cream here that I wanted to use up. And then they would add their leavening agent into their sour milk, or as I did here into my sour cream, I put a good heaping tablespoonful of baking soda into this. And now I'm going to actually mix this into my batter along with my all-purpose flour. And I've got 5 cups of sifted all-purpose flour here, and I'm just going to add it in alternating fashion. I'll put about maybe a quarter of this in, about a quarter of the flour. I'll mix that in, and I will continue until I have my batter. When I got this mixed up, I'm going to show you what the final batter is going to look like that I'm going to put outside so it can chill overnight here with our natural refrigeration here in Michigan. And I'll be back to you in just a second. Alright guys, I got my flour and my sour cream mixture into my cookie dough here. Kind of see here what it looks like. It's a good stiff dough. You can see here also I don't have my mixer around here anywhere. I just have my wooden spoon, and the reason for that is cookie dough is a little bit like biscuits. You don't want to overwork your cookie dough because your cookies could become tough. You want a nice soft cookie, and that's only achieved by using a wooden spoon to incorporate that flour into it so you don't overdevelop that gluten like you would with bread. So anyway, this cookie dough is on its way out to the garage. I'm going to cover it up and make sure that nothing can get into it. We're going to put this out in the natural refrigeration to chill overnight, and then tomorrow morning I'm going to roll these guys out. I'm going to show you some of my cookie cutters, and then we're going to bake these guys up and get ready to decorate them. Hey everybody, it's the next morning. I'm getting ready to roll out my cookie dough and start baking those cookies. But I want to take a minute here to show you some of my old school cookie cutters that I have here, and I'm going to start by showing you the container that they're kept in. All the old farms always had an old oatmeal container that they kept their cookie cutters in. I seen multiple families have a oatmeal container that they stored this stuff in. This old container here, you can even see they got cookie cutters written on it. Was just another example of how everything got used back then. You didn't throw anything out, even an old oatmeal container. Start here with some of my oldest cutters. This is another perfect example of stuff getting used to the max. This right here is an old baking powder lid from a baking powder tin. This right here was used for both cookies and for cutting out biscuits, and I still use this to this day for that. Then here's another cutter that I have. It's an old donut fry cake cutter, and I still use this as well. This, you can see the top here where the solder is on both ends. There was probably a handle on here at one time, but it's never, as long as I've had it, there's never been a handle on it, so I just use it just like this, and this is one that I use quite a bit. Some of the old cookie cutters that I have here, the real old ones, stuff like this. It's a dog here. These all got a handle soldered on the top, gingerbread man type. Also got a lot of cookie cutters will have animals like birds and rabbits and stuff, and that's because these cutters were used for both Easter as well as Christmas. A lot of shapes and symbols like stars were very common, and things like hearts were also very, very common for different holidays. Then I got some aluminum ones here. These are from the 50s and 60s, and these are some of my favorite ones that I use to this day. It's got a gingerbread man one here, and then a Christmas tree. Again, I use these all the time. Every year we use these. Things like bells were also really important because these were something that could be used for both Easter as well as Christmas. Animals, again, very popular, like this dog here. I guess everybody wants a puppy for Christmas if it can't have a puppy cookie is the same way. But I just wanted to take a minute here to kind of show you these old school cookie cutters. You know, they're very, very old and still very functional, can still use these, and I still do use these. But anyway, we're going to head in the house here in a minute, and I'm going to start rolling out the cookie dough and show you guys how to bake them. Here is our dough from the night before. You can see here a little bit what it looks like. Got some of my cookie cutters back there in waiting. Got a good half a cup of flour here spread out on my kitchen counter. Got my one-piece rolling pin here. You want to have a little bit of a well of flour in one location or another, so you can use your use that flour to dunk your cookie cutters in, so your cookies come off the cutter a lot easier. I'm going to get a ball of dough on this here, and I'm going to start rolling it out, and I'm going to show you exactly how I cut these out. Alright, I got the dough rolled out. This is about a third of the dough. You can see here about how big that is. Rolled it out there with the rolling pin. You want to dust your rolling pin with a little bit of flour to make sure that it doesn't stick on you. Got my sheet pan here right beside me. Keep a real close workspace. Now I'll take my Christmas tree cookie cutter here. Start down here on one end. Kind of press it in and wiggle, just like so. And if I did it right, it'll stick. And then we can take it over here, give it a little shake, and transfers right over onto our baking sheet nicely. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a larger I'm going to do quite a few of these Christmas tree ones at first because they're all the same size and shape, so they're going to cook evenly. You don't want to take a real small cookie and have it on a sheet with a real large cookie because it won't cook evenly. My oven timer just went off. Let me know that it's at 350 degrees. When I got this pan covered with cookies here, they're going to go in for about 10 minutes or so. At about 9 minutes, we're going to start checking and make sure that they don't get too brown. When I got some baked cookies here, I'm going to show you what those guys look like as well. Here is my one sheet of the smaller cookies. I got stars, hearts, and bells on this one. You can see here real good about how thick I have that dough rolled out. It's between 1/4 and 3/8 of an inch thick. These cookies are all about the same size, so they're going to bake a little bit shorter time than probably the 10 minutes, probably 7 to 9 for these guys right here. That's why it's always important to keep the same size cookies on your cookie sheet when you're baking. When these guys are baked, I'm going to show you what they look like. Here is the first batch of Christmas tree cookies that I took out of the oven. I got them on a rack here. A rack is a good thing to have because these cookies are going to be on the soft side when they first come out. So they're going to want to cool a little bit so they firm up so you can move them around. Now if you look on the bottom here, nice golden brown. This is about the color that you want on the bottom. That's what you have to check when you're baking these cookies. When it gets to about this color on the bottom, then they're done and they can be taken out on the rack to cool. These cookies are going to have to cool about 4 hours or so before I go ahead and start frosting and decorating them. Here is the yield for our 5 cup of flour sugar cookie recipe. If I counted right, we got 76 cookies here, and let these cool for a couple of hours at least, probably more like 3 or 4 hours, and then I'm going to start frosting and decorating these. One more thing I'm going to show you guys is how I make the frosting for these guys, and then we'll do just a little bit of a wrap up. Alright guys, I'm going to show you here the last step of making these Christmas cookies, and that's making the frosting. I also got my little tub here with all my decorations in it, both my food coloring and my colored sugars and stuff. This is another thing that was real common as far as all the old farms had some kind of little box or container where they had their food coloring and they had their decorations in for whether it was cookies or whatever they were making. But anyway, I'm going to show you real quick here how I make my frosting up. Local sugar, again, like I told you guys earlier, that I use for regular cookies. Tried to use as much local stuff as possibly can. I'm going to use about a half of a package here, which is about 1 pound of powdered sugar. And then about 1/4 cup of melted butter we're going to put into this. And then again, we're going to put about 2 teaspoons of imitation vanilla into this. Again, I always put extra vanilla in, just like the old timers did, to give it a little better flavor. Sometimes I don't think they add enough of the flavorings into the stuff they're making. And then just a little bit of milk. Now you don't want to overdo the milk. You can always add, but you can't take back out. And that's kind of the difference between frosting and icing. If you want icing, then you put quite a bit of milk in. If you want frosting, you put a little bit less in. And like I said, just a little bit at a time, because it's got to be a little bit stiff, because we're going to be spreading this frosting onto the cookies with just regular butter knives. See here how it's kind of coming together. Just a little bit yet. I'm going to put just a drop or 2 in there yet. And that is about the consistency you want it. You want it pretty stiff, so it can be spread easy. All right, Now we're going to divide this frosting up in a couple of different bowls. We're going to get our food coloring into it. We usually do green, red, yellow, white. Sometimes I'll make a little bit of a brown too for the bottom of the Christmas trees, because I'm a traditionalist. I do not like all pink and blue Christmas trees. They have to have brown trunks and green tops. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But anyway, I just wanted to show this recipe here to you guys, explain a little bit how the old fashioned Christmas cookies kind of brightened everybody's year, so to speak. Even in the bad times like the Depression and World War II, cookies and holiday baking was a real important part of that celebration, no matter how bad the times were. But anyway, this is Modern Refugee. I appreciate all my subscribers out there. Hope you guys are getting a little information, a little entertainment out of my videos. I'm going to put some pictures at the end of the cookies that we're going to decorate, plus some cookies of years past. But anyway, you guys take care.